Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Ladd, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 62. We are rattling through our second year. And I just want to say, first of all, before we go any further, we've just had our results, or our results, it sounds like we've done an exam, our stats in from September. And we had our most successful month ever for downloads in September. So I just want to say a huge thank you. And also Pete and Paul and myself just want to thank you for listening. We had over 2,000 downloads in September, which is our best ever. So thank you to all of our listeners, all of our watchers. Actually, that doesn't include YouTube, I don't think. So I think that's just the listeners. So thank you to our watchers separately. But yeah, thank you for everything you're doing. As we always say on this podcast, if you do like what you're hearing and you're finding it useful, please do share, like, subscribe, leave us a review, and generally share it with your friends. If you'd like to, you can even buy a Health Oddity merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, that sort of thing, and really show off down the pub to your friends, which would be fantastic.
Or in the pub with a Health Oddity t-shirt.
Go to the pub with a Health Oddity t-shirt on, yeah. And people who go, what's that? Okay, anyway, so we are without Paul today, but we do have Peter. So hello, Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing outstandingly well. I just want to say thank you to everyone as well. Our first ever month was 200 listeners, I think. So we've done 10 times that in a year. And across the whole lot, so including YouTube and everything, I think we've had over 20,000, way over 20,000 like listeners, downloads, whatever. So it's brilliant. So keep telling your friends about it, because it's expanding, it's getting better. And we said on the last podcast with Keegan that the more, like, we're doing the right thing. People need this more and more. So we should keep going, and we should all give ourselves a pat on the back about it. We should give ourselves a pat on the back about it for doing it, and you guys should give yourselves a pat on the back for listening and telling your friends. So thank you.
Excellent. And we have a returning guest with us today. And I think I'm right in saying that we last spoke to this guest about a year ago. And I think I'm right in saying that he may have been our first ever international guest.
Yes.
He was our first international. I'm pretty sure he's our first international guest. He is none other than Rik Brown, aka Mr Maceman, and he is joining us from California in the USA. How are you doing, Rik?
I'm doing terrific. I'm having a great time. I'm excited to be on here. I didn't know that I was your first international appearance.
You were, and I remember we spoke about Dick Van Dyke and yes, longevity, and you told us the Dick Van Dyke chauffeur story. So if you haven't listened to Rik's first podcast with us, I'd recommend going back to that, because we will not be repeating the Dick Van Dyke chauffeur story. So go back to listen in the original one, and that's a hook for you. That's an open loop. That's a hook for you to go and listen to the first episode. But for those of you who don't know Rik, Rik is internationally known as Mr Maceman. He is an unconventional training specialist. We will actually probably get Rik just to give us a quick 5-minute kind of bio to start this episode, and then we'll go further. So Rik, if you just like to sort of reintroduce yourselves to our guests and our listeners, because they probably, it was a year ago we had you on before. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you currently are, and then we'll get into having a bit of a catch up with you.
Okay, the down and dirty, quick and easy story is I'm a father of 3 daughters, grandfather of 9 children. They all think that I'm the strongest man who ever lived. So we'll keep that secret, okay? It's not true, but we'll just let them believe that, okay? And I have been a trainer, or at least involved in physical fitness and training, traditional style, ever since the late 70s. And I was a failure, a dismal failure as a bodybuilder, but still loving the training. That drove me to find other ways of training. And around Y2K, when kettlebells became popular, especially in the USA, I dove headfirst into that, sold all of my traditional equipment, bought kettlebells, bought training, hired a trainer, went and got certified, and thought I was going to change the world with kettlebells. Around that time, I was already approaching 50 years old. So it was a bit uphill as a trainer in Southern California with all the emphasis on youth and hard bodies and things like that. Despite the fact that I feel a great trainer, but I did have a company that made a DVD of my kettlebell training, and at the end of the DVD, we shot a segment of an outdoor workout, and I had the client in the workout do kettlebells and the mace. And when that hit the internet and the airwaves, nobody asked anything about the kettlebells because there was already a flood of kettlebell trainers out there, but they all wanted to know about the mace. They had to know about what that long pole was that I briefly just showed for, less than a minute online. And I thought, okay, everybody wants to know about that. We'll take we will move in that direction. So that's when I started to move in that direction. I organized a seminar along with the partner that I spoke of earlier, Eric Doyle of Unconventional Athletics, and people showed up. People showed up, and I thought, this is what people want to know about. And at that time, I decided to become Mr. Maceman, and that led to international seminars. 2 weeks ago, I was in New Jersey, on the other side of the United States. I'm excited to make a return trip next month, or this month in November. This will be when this airs, to England, this time to Chelmsford. I'm excited as can be about that. I actually have a friend over here that is familiar with Chelmsford, and he was giving me some things to look at. So if I have a free day, I'll do some sightseeing.
Excellent. No, it's going to be fantastic. So as we'll come back to this later, but as Rik mentioned, he will be coming over to England in November on the weekend of Saturday the 20th and Sunday the 21st of November to do two separate one-day certification workshops. So you can choose either the Saturday or the Sunday in Chelmsford, Essex, at Unique Results. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So you mentioned in your kind of in your little bio there, Rik, about bodybuilding in the 70s, and I'm wondering, I don't think we spoke about it last time, but were you influenced? Obviously, we've spoke to lots of trainers and people. In fact, a lot of the kind of the influential trainers who we talk to now are probably in their sort of 60s at the moment. So were you inspired by the whole sort of pumping iron era and Arnold and Franco Columbo and all of those guys back in the 70s?
Oh, tremendously so. In the very late 60s, I was almost an early teenager. I'm 63 now. So in 1969, I believe it was, when I saw my first photograph of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I was just spellbound. I like the fact that he was somewhat taller than most, because I'm pretty tall, and most bodybuilders I've seen are on the shorter side. So I thought it was something that was exclusive to them. And of course, with Lou Ferrigno being the same height as I am, I saw that it could happen, but it just didn't happen for me. I trained hard. And I got stronger. You can get strong even if you're slender. And I got a lot stronger, but it just didn't show up. And but I still kept training, plugging at it for 20 years. I trained in a gym that was owned by a 5-time Mr. Universe, Bill Pearl, who was a good friend of Arnold's. And
Oh wow, Bill Pell, yeah, is a huge name in the kind of the history of bodybuilding, isn't he?
oh, he is,
Yeah.
and every legendary story you've heard about him is true. He is as good as it gets as far as a bodybuilder and a person and a gentleman. And if you don't like him, bodybuilding isn't for you. That's what I have to say. It's just not your. So he's a great guy, and he's still around, and he's not in California anymore, but he's still alive and healthy, and I'm grateful.
But I suppose even though you didn't maybe make it, into competitive bodybuilding and things like that, I mean, 20 years of strength training and getting stronger and building resilience and building, strength and health has obviously served, stood you in good stead as you're sort of, like you say, you're 63 now, and not everyone who lifts weights is going to, end up as Mr. Olympia or Mr. Universe, but it's a great pursuit, isn't it, for health and longevity, I think.
It is an absolutely wonderful addiction. That's what it is. I can't go a week without it. If I ever am forced to, I see changes in my personality, and my wife or my kids will say, "Hey, go work out. You need to work out," and it's a tremendous addiction. And incidentally, I believe when people start working out, when they choose, especially if they haven't before, if they choose whatever modality they choose, traditional training, unconventional training, even jogging or bicycling or something like that, the first thing to address is not necessarily the efficacy of the workout. What's the best way to lose weight, or the first thing you need to address is that you need to develop the habit of consistent training, because the very best workout, whatever it is, will not work if you don't do it. And also, a subpar workout, if you do it and do it consistently, will give you results. There's types of training that I don't pursue because I just don't think they're as effective as what I do. But a person who does them, and who does them consistently and over time, will get the results. Every type of training will work. People say, "Will this work? Will that work?" Everything works. Some things work better than other things. But if all you do is bicycling, and if you do it with gusto and with your heart, you will reap benefits from that if you do it consistently. I happen to like the Mace and kettlebells, Bulgarian bag. I love those things, and they work for me, and I love them. But that doesn't mean that everybody has to use them.
I really love that. I love that. We just recorded a podcast with Keegan Smith from ATG, and he was talking about how actually the majority of people do no exercise whatsoever. The vast majority, probably 80% plus of the population do no exercise whatsoever. So if you can find something that you enjoy and that you can stick at, and whether that be, like you say, walking, jogging, bicycling, swimming, strength training, mace, kettlebell, whatever it is, that puts you in the top kind of 20% of people out there. And doing that consistently is going to be good for, and you mentioned it earlier as well, it's good for your physical health, but it's also great for your mental health, isn't it? And your personality, I think.
It really is. And one thing I found that I did not bargain for, added bonus I got as the years went by. But when I was a young man, I kind of liked to keep my training private to myself and just among my gym buddies. I would never work out publicly, ever. I felt that if people walked by and they were to see you, maybe lifting weights in a park or on a patio or something like that, they would be like, "Well, what's this guy doing trying to make himself better? What's his problem?" That's just the crazy mindset I had. But when you round the corner of 50 years old, when you start losing hair or getting gray hair, and you still are working out with some gusto and passion, everybody changes. Maybe I changed, but I'm telling you, other people change. Now they see you and they encourage you. "Hey, that's great, sir. Keep at it." Maybe they're thinking he's not going to be a burden on the system. We're not going to have to, medically take care of him. He's staying vital into his senior years. Whatever it is, I see a lot of people training publicly now, people over 50, and they all get encouragement, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
That's brilliant, because like that thing you said about your kids and grandkids who think you're the strongest man that's ever lived. Everyone can have that. Everyone can have that with their kids and grandkids, because they can just, all you need to do is start training now and do it consistently over time. And when they come along, they'll just automatically think that, won't they?
Yeah, but the younger grandkids, I think a couple of years ago, I was on featured in a magazine, and they took it to kindergarten. One of them took the magazine to kindergarten, and so I was there. That I didn't pick her up every day, but I picked her up that day, and she came running out with the magazine with half of her kindergarten class. They all wanted me to pick them up, and I had to do that, you know. And they wanted this guy to pick them up, and that was a really nice moment, a memory I cherish.
Well, I reckon that'll be recreated at James's gym with so James, right? James is hilarious, right? Pretty much every guest we've had on, he's got a picture of him with his arm around him. He's got with the book in the other hand that's signed or whatever. And then like Dan John came over a couple of weeks ago, and he's there with James's kids on his shoulders. So, you know, this is going to be the new thing, isn't it, James? You're going to have all these guys like. And it'll be like Milo. It'll be like the Greek. He was Greek, wasn't he? Or Cypriot, or whatever. Milo, the guy who carried the calf to town. There'll be these guys, and when Bella and Xandra are like 25 years old, he's standing with them on his shoulders like that. That'd be hilarious.
Because when Dan came over, I think it was. I think Bella was about 3 months old or 6 months old or something. So he had a picture holding her when she was like a little baby, and then this time he had her as well. So no, it was great. But I love that you know, like you're saying about children and grandchildren. You know, Bella, especially as she's 5 now. You know, she loves meeting. You know, Fabio Zonin when he came over, Dan John. You know, she'll meet you, Rik, and she meets all these strong people coming from all over the world. And it just becomes kind of like natural to her, and it becomes something that. I mean, she's already asking about, you know, when she can start exercising and training and things. And I don't try and push her into it at all, but it's just setting that positive example, isn't it? And just being around that, which is good. I was just going to say, actually, one thing you said about, we've got a lady called Julia. I'll just give Julia Childs a shout out from Unique Results. And we finished one of our rounds of pure strength this week, which is kind of like a 7-week strength program that we run. And she posted on, I suppose nowadays, you know, you said about you don't like training in public. You don't know what people will think. But nowadays we've got social media, haven't we? Which obviously has changed everything. And she put a post up yesterday that said, I've just got it on my screen, 66 years old, and I can still deadlift 80 kilos. And she put hashtag age is just a number. And then she's had like loads of people, you know, positive comments back. And I think that's really positive that a lady who's, you know, 66 years old, you know, is deadlifting and is proud of what she's lifting and setting an example for others. So I think it's, you know, and what you're doing, Rik, is absolutely fantastic. So long may it continue. Yeah.
I'll give you a little story. A month ago, again, I was doing a seminar in San Diego, California, which is about an hour and a half drive for me. I live midway between San Diego and Los Angeles. And so an hour and a half north will get me to Los Angeles, an hour and a half south will get me to San Diego. So I had posted, advertised for this course on social media, and I saw the people that were signing up, and some names were familiar, some weren't. There was one lady who signed up, and she had a very plain name. I think it was like Mary Clark or something like that. I couldn't even find her on social media. I didn't know who she was. So as I'm setting up everything, people are walking in, and some I recognized. You know, about 33 people actually showed up for that event. It was a good event. And then I'm looking down at a clipboard, and someone says, "Hi, I'm Mary Clark," and I look up, and it's my 70-year-old sister, my big sister. I said, what do you mean Mary Clark? And she goes, well, I wanted to come to your seminar, so I bought a ticket under an assumed name. I didn't want to. I just wanted to surprise you. I said, you didn't have to buy a ticket. You can come in for free.
Is this how famous you are these days? Even your family have to buy tickets to come and see.
Well, I was impressed because she's 70 years old and she went through the seminar. She was doing planks on the ground. I made sure that she had a very lightweight mace. And for anyone who comes to Unique Results, I tell people, always err on the side of lightness with the mace. You can always get a heavier mace later. That's the easiest part, adding weight to it. Let's get a light mace. Let's learn the movements correctly, and we will deal with weight later down the road. Don't think that you have to pick up a heavy mace at the start. No need at all. Learn the movements correctly. And my sister did very well, and it was a lengthy seminar. And she hung in there. I was proud as could be. 70-year-old sister. I took a lot of pictures with her. I was just delighted that she made it there.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think going back to the previous podcast we had, I mean, this is probably something that you experienced. And I think myself and Pete and Paul and Keegan, who we were talking to, we were kind of talking about ego and the way people try to almost, it's a natural thing. They want to exceed, they want to excel, they want to maybe do more than they're currently capable of. And we were talking about the benefits and the importance of having a coach or someone there to actually sometimes rein you back in and say, no, let's go a bit lighter, because and it seems to be what we think. I don't know if it's true all over, but it seems to be more of a thing with men really that will try and, I mean, I know when I first swung a mace, I picked up, I think it was a 4 kilo, and it's about learning the timing, isn't it? To begin with, it's like you say, the weight is inconsequential, really. But so many people will think, well, actually, a 4 kilo mace, well, I can swing a 20 or a 24 kilo kettlebell, so a 4 or a 6 kilo mace is not heavy enough for me. So, I mean, do you find that or I get contacted by people who say, oh, I've seen you doing the mace stuff and I want to start. I've gone on Amazon and I've bought myself a 10 kilo mace. And you think, God, like, it's not that a 10 kilo mace is not equivalent to a 10 kilo kettlebell, is it? So do you find that often, Rik, that when you start with people, they have this assumption or this belief they're maybe going to use something far heavier than they need to, and then when they actually try, they get a bit of a shock because of the the leverage and all the rest of it that comes with using a mace?
Yeah, leverage counts. It counts a lot. And most people who do traditional linear training, whether they can bench press 100 kilos, there's no leverage working against them. It's linear. And somebody who's comfortable bench pressing 100 kilos for 10 repetitions, he thinks he can pick up a 10 kilogram mace and have at it. Well, the 10 kilograms will humble you, because you have to multiply 10 kilograms times 40 inches or 48 inches, and it adds up. It incrementally gets more difficult and more difficult. And definitely when I'm training people in public, which sometimes I do outdoor events, people will come up and say, is that heavy? They say the same things with a kettlebell, and I have a standard answer. My answer is, it's heavy for me. Maybe it won't be for you. Why don't you try it? And then they try it and they're immediately humbled. Now they're intrigued. They're either intrigued or they're intimidated. And I try not to intimidate anybody. I'd rather just intrigue them. And so I have very, very light maces that people can tiptoe in and do this and feel the benefit of it. The mace is about movement, and the mace is about leverage and overcoming leverage, knowing when to relax, not a death grip on the mace the whole time. You will tire in a minute if you grip it the whole time. So you got to know when to relax and when to tug at it, and when to relax, let it go around. So there's a learning curve.
Yeah. So when just to kind of go back to your, the origins of when you first started to move away from, I suppose you could say, bodybuilding and the kind of conventional gym exercises, and you were first introduced to kettlebells around sort of 2000 or the early 2000s, I think you said.
Yeah.
Did you do like an RKC or something? Would it have been back then?
Yes, I did an RKC in 2005. Back then, now you could do an RKC within 10 miles from your house, pretty much. But when I did it, I had to go to Minnesota. It was the only place that you could do it. And I actually have tremendous memories. I'd never been to Minnesota. I was excited about it. I was going away by myself. I had tremendous memories. I met there, the certifications were about 50 or 60 people maybe. And all of us, we want to learn this new thing. And it was just exciting. I still keep in touch with many of the people from that 2005, what's that, 16 years. Many of them, especially in that early group, went on to establish themselves as, as good trainers and are still with it. They're one of the original groups. And a few years later, when I became Mr. Maceman, some of them were intrigued by it. But I will tell you that there was a deep, deep core in the RKC that I was not a part of. I was just on the fringe. I was an old guy, so I was RKC certified, and I went back and was an assistant instructor with them a few times. But the inner core, I guess the basic 10 people that were their marshals. And I wasn't in that group. I was just one of the assistants, and that's okay. I learned about the mace, and I found actually some resistance among the true blue kettlebell people. They said, well, it's not like a kettlebell. And I reminded them, well, remember, the kettlebell is not like traditional training. We all knocked on the door of traditional training, and some of us got laughed at by the standard Olympic lifting and powerlifting community. They said that the kettlebell was a fad, and we had to embrace it ourselves, regardless of what they said. Well, that's exactly how I feel about the mace. When people online started to say that the mace was a fad and that it wasn't, because again, a 10K is considered a substantial mace. 10K is nothing in traditional weightlifting. 10K is not much in a kettlebell. So I knew there was value in the mace. It didn't offend me. It didn't bother me. I just stuck to my guns and kept doing what I was doing. And I knew that ultimately the tide would turn, and it has.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? We talk a lot on this show about, and to a lot of the people we've had on, people become very dogmatic and very protectionist of their kind of tool, if you like, or their format or their system. And some people can be very much like, well, this is what I do, and this is the best way, and this is the only thing I'm going to look at, which is fine for some people. But we kind of like to promote I suppose like one of the things you opened up with, we like to promote the idea that, there isn't really one size fits all in terms of an exercise modality or an exercise tool or an exercise system or an exercise protocol. And if you're trying to better yourself and become more active and become more strong and live a more healthy life, you find what's right for you, and sometimes it's a mix of tools, so sometimes it could be the kettlebell, the mace, the Bulgarian bag, walking, swimming, all these things. You don't have to sort of pick one, almost like a nutritional approach. You get, I'm a vegan, or I'm paleo, or I'm keto, or I'm carnivore, and everyone else is the enemy. I think people can learn from each other, and
there's so much of that black-white thinking. Either all right or all wrong. You're either with me or against me, and we need to blend. We need to blend, and you're always going to have your favorite. I will tell you one thing that will help anybody. Aging is a positive thing. When you age, and as your once super powerful body starts to get limitations, you become open to things that as a powerful individual, you would never. Superman could fly. Okay, I know you like superheroes. Superman could fly. If he thought of going from Chelmsford to Ireland, he wouldn't look into a train or a plane. I mean, he wouldn't look into a plane or a ship. He'd fly. If he lost his ability to fly, or if flying became particularly tiring for him, now he's going to be looking into ships. Now he's going to be looking into airplanes. Okay. Whereas before, okay, I can fly. I'm getting there. It's going to be, no problem. As you age, or if you're young and you're injured, you are now open to different things. And I have aged. I have had a few injuries. They've opened my mind to different modalities or different ways of using what I already use, different ways of using the mace that at one time I would never consider. And when I'm in Chelmsford, I will elaborate on that. There were things that I saw, the assistance exercises and so forth, that I would never waste time with as a young and powerful man. Well, as a senior citizen, I give them credence because they have something to offer.
I think what you've just been talking about there, number one, it's been proven that the more aging you do, the longer you live. You can have that. I'm full of today. Honestly, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what I've been eating today. But no, the thing you've just mentioned there, and what James was saying, and we were talking about last week, is people can get quite dogmatic. And I've done this. I got dogmatic about kettlebells years ago, and I was like, we're going to do it this way because it's good for everybody, blah, 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 which isn't true because it's not good for everybody because some people can't do it and some people don't want to do it. So it's instantly not true. And then I still use kettlebells mainly just because I really like them, but I'm not dogmatic about them. Like, if you don't want to use them, you don't have to use them. Now, the great thing about what you've just said there is, so you're Mr. Maceman, but you're not like, you want to try and take the mace to the world and put it in everyone's hand. You can put it in everyone's hand, but everyone doesn't have to go, okay. If they say no, you're like, right, well, that's fine. That's for you. That's cool. But I tried. But also, and this definitely happens because I've been in one of your certifications, and this definitely happens. Like, you kind of draw people in, and then you're like, here's how you can use it and what have you. And you create a community of people who are then curious. And that's exactly, my guys are like that. They're curious. If I bring maces down, they're like, oh, brilliant. How do you use this? And some of them will be like, oh, I'm not that bothered or whatever, but like it creates a curiosity among people, which we need among trainers, and we need among trainees and among people in general, just to try new stuff. Because you can try it and you might like it, or you might not. But it's great that you can create that community. And I think you do that really well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with James's lot at Unique Results.
And I think you mentioned as well, Rik, you mentioned passion earlier. One of the things you said, that when you exercise and when you train, it kind of energizes you and you feel more sort of, and that's something that you've got in abundance, isn't it? You've got this passion for training and for sharing unconventional training methods and for, teaching the mace and it's this this kind of infectious enthusiasm, I suppose, that you're taking all around the world, which is fantastic.
I certainly try to, if I can infuse people with one drop of the passion that I have for it, I know that it will serve them well. It's not drudgery to work out. I don't have to psych myself up. I have to limit myself. Again, the aging process affects all of us. If I watch and I know what does motivate me to work out, I'll talk about that when I'm at Unique Results. If you know what motivates you and you have access to it, you can work out for 50 years. Okay, a brilliant workout career of 5 years is meaningless 10 years after you've stopped it. Okay, we see people in the retirement homes that in their youth were athletes. Well, what happened? Well, they stopped doing it for 40 years. Well, now you're just on the same ground with everybody else your age. It won't help you. You have to continue to do it. So if you can find, if I may not be a mace master, I may not be a master of any form of training, but I promise you, I am a master of motivation because I know what it takes to consistently work out day in, day out, feeling good, feeling bad for 40 years. So, and this is the secret. if you find what it is that motivates you, and it's different for everybody. It could be a painting, it could be songs, it could be music. And if you can have access to it, and now with the cell phone, you can have access to any image you want. You can have image to any type of music. You can have it. You can consistently stay in a motivated state. If you can only be motivated to work out in an October and the night of a full moon, well, you're not going to work out very consistently. Okay. My point is that there's certain things, if I watch, and I don't do CrossFit, but if I watch a CrossFit competition and I see all these people passionately, excitedly working out, I get so motivated to work out, I can hurt myself if I don't put the brakes on. I can hurt myself if I don't, if the mind still says I can do a 1 hour workout, even though my body says, no, don't do that. Don't do that. So I'll touch on that in Chelmsford at Unique Results. I will share not just what I've learned of the Mace, but what I've learned of motivation, and it will serve you well. Not less than 2 years ago, my mother-in-law passed. She was 94. 94. I went fishing with her when she was 94, and she was the only one who caught fish that day. But her workout was being barefoot in the garden and tending to her garden. Yeah. And it served her well for 94 years. Okay. I didn't put a mace in her hand. I just watched what she did. And so motivation is a key. Again, the best workout possible will not do a thing for you if the last time you did it was a year ago. Your benefits have lost. These are temporal benefits, and you have to keep renewing it. You have to keep working out. You have to, and it doesn't have to be a gut-busting workout in which you're heaving and just, it could be a mild. And that's what's so beautiful about the Mace. The Mace is strength, but it is strength with control. It is an elegant expression of strength. It's not a brutal expression. It's not brutish. It is very elegant. It is steel weight is circling around you. Yeah, to me, it's control. It's not just strength.
I think what you just said there is great, and this is one of those things that you're saying, you don't want to be horrible to people or anything like that. And some listeners might not like this if it hits a chord and stuff like that. But when you're saying, like, if you can only work out on an October and a full moon or whatever, if it's never the right time, if there's always something in the way, or if it's like, I'm not motivated today and I'm not motivated today and I'm not like, and it's like that all the time. There's one consistent thing there. There's one constant, isn't it? And that's you. So, and it's quite harsh sometimes for people to hear that, but it's like, and there's various different things that can be causing that and what have you. However, for most people, it is just like, just get up and do it. Even if, because if you rely on motivation, you're screwed. I mean, you're a motivated person, you can motivate other people, but if you rely on that all the time, you're screwed, because there's days when I get up and I'm not motivated, but I know that the consistency of doing something, and even more so, I know this after speaking to Jim Hatcher about it, who's 80, and he gave up for 15 years when he was like from 45 to 60. He didn't train, and it's way harder to get back into training when you're 60 than it is if you've carried on for that 15 years, isn't it? I don't know that, but because I'm not there yet, but I'm pretty willing to listen to him and believe that that's true. So
let me tell you something, Peter. Let me tell you something.
That was quite good.
This sounds negative, but it isn't if you learn to work with it.
Yeah, totally.
The angel of aging and the angel of injury is either at your house, just leaving your house, or on its way to your house.
Yeah.
Injuries will happen, whether you work out or not, okay? And it's how you deal with them that will teach you so much about yourself. Motivation, to overcome aging. We can't overcome it. We can only manage it. We can only manage it. But the worst strategy is to do nothing.
Yeah.
Learn to do something. And one thing about the Mace is your workouts don't have to be 30 minutes long. It's not like the protocol doesn't change. You can pick up a Mace in 3 minutes, and no, you can't get a complete workout in 3 minutes, but it'll hold you over until you can get a complete workout. Okay.
Yeah.
I think when we interviewed Mark Rifkind on here a while ago, and one of the things that he said that because he's, again, I think Mark's, is he around 60 as well, isn't he? I think
He's all these guys are the same age. Him, Dan,
Yeah.
John, Stuart McGill, they're all something. There was something in the water in that year.
So I think you know Mark and Tracy, don't you, Rick? I think.
Yes, Mark's about a year older than I am, and back when I was RKC, he was one of the head guys in RKC, and I've been with him then. I've invited him to some of my Mace things that were in his area, because we live like 6 hours apart. I've invited him to some things, but at the times when I invited him, when I was going to be close to him, he was in serious heavy training for something else. And he told me, he said, I'd love to come to one of your events, but I'm training for X, Y, and Z, so I want to put all my effort into that. No problem, Mark. I'll be back. I'll be here anymore. Great guy, very knowledgeable, former gymnast, former bodybuilder. Great guy, former power lifter, very wide repertoire,
and an endurance athlete as well.
Yeah, he's very, very interesting guy. But one of the things he said that really sort of, it kind of taps into what you guys have been saying is, I think he said, because he's been training, consistently for, 45 years or whatever. And he said, never wake up in the morning and ask yourself the question, do I feel like training today?
Yeah.
They just never ask. It doesn't matter if you feel like training or not. You get up and you do it, And if you ask yourself, do I feel like it? You give yourself an option to say, no, I don't.
Have you read The War of Art, the Stephen Pressfield book?
I haven't, no.
That's a great, right. There's a book recommendation for you all right there, The War of Art, right? And he calls it Resistance. So Stephen Pressfield wrote the screenplay for a film. I can't remember what it is, what the film was. It was something about King Kong or something like that. And Linda Hamilton was in it. And it was a dreadful film.
Oh, and King Kong Lives, I think it might have been.
Yeah, something like that, right? And it was a dreadful film, and that knocked him right back. But he calls it Resistance, right? It's anything, it's got lots of different names, but he calls it Resistance. And he's like, you get up in the morning after you've been asleep, your resistance has been awake all night, like waiting for you to wake up. And it's there. It's always there. So it's what Rick was saying, the angel of injuries, like either coming towards your house, leaving your house, or whatever. And it's the same as like your lethargy, resistance, whatever you want to call it. Every minute that you're not doing anything, it's doing push-ups in the background, isn't it? Ready to come and kick your ass. So you might as well try, and every day when you get up, you've got to beat that. And that's exactly what you say, what Mark Rifkin said. Get up and ask yourself the question. It's like, no, just get up and do it. There is no question. So yeah.
and one thing I like to encourage people with, as far as unconventional training goes, the unconventional style of training, whether it's with a kettlebell, a Bulgarian bag, a mace, heavy clubs, there's a skill factor involved. So you have to be humble when you get in so that you can learn. You can open yourself up to learn. Here's the thing I tell people: if you've been doing this for a year or so, you've developed some skill. You have some expertise that the ranked beginner doesn't have. This, I promise you, if you are consistent, I promise you this: the workout that you do that you're embarrassed of, the workout that I won't tell Eric Doyle about because it's so subpar, the workout that I won't tell my buddies about, that I won't post online, the one I'm embarrassed of. Everybody else that you went to high school with, that workout would kill them. That workout would blow them away. If they saw you do that, they would be singing your praises because they can't even approach it. We're in such a small world. We're in such a small niche that unconventional trainers, we develop an ability to throw around a 24K kettlebell for 100 times. And that's what we consider a standard for a gentleman. That would kill most people. that would kill many athletes if they attempted that. We have a degree of strength added to a degree of skill, added to consistency, and that adds up to something that 95% of the people that you graduated high school with won't even, they wouldn't even imagine it.
That's something I think about quite a lot, actually. About being an average person, right? Because I'd consider myself an average person, right? I mean, you know, it just is. I think most people do. And there's the funny thing, because the majority of people probably consider themselves average, but like, you know, which will happen. But not everybody can be average, right? Because somebody's got to be up here and somebody's got to be down there. But then, like you've just said, you look at the things that like me and James have been doing, that the things that you do, and it's not. And James just said, like, you know, it'll be in like the top 20% of the global population, I suppose. So in an ideal world, like this is what I'd love, is for average to be someone who can snatch a 24 kilo 100 times or whatever, you know what I mean? Some sort of like, I mean, strength standards, there's a bit of a, there's debate about that, isn't there? Whether this should be there or not, because like everyone's different and all of that. However, I'd love a world where that was average, so that everyone had to up their game, because at the minute it's everyone kind of lowers the standards, don't they? And then that's the way it seems to go, especially with physical fitness. I think definitely lethargy takes over.
I think I was just going to say that I think you kind of compare yourself as well, don't you, to your you assess your level of average by your peer group, not by the general population. So if I go to, say, like I was at a Strong First event last weekend with 60 people, and I would consider myself very average out of those 60.
Yeah.
But those 60 people at the Strong First event who've done the SFG one, which is the equivalent of the RKC back in the day,
Right.
you know, they've trained to get there. So you know, it's kind of about, and again, this kind of goes on to a slightly different topic, which is that, you know, you are the you know, the average of, you know, the 10 people you hang around with most, you know, this kind of theory whereby, you know, if you want to raise your game, if you want to raise your standards, you know, educationally, physically, financially, whatever, surround yourself with people who, you know, are the kind of people that you want to be more like. You know, you can have different peer groups for different areas of your life, can't you, in different kind of groups, but you want to hang around with, and you want to get knowledge from, and you want to train with, and you want to talk with, and you want to, you know, read the kind of books that you know you just recommended, Pete, and people recommend, to raise the standards of your life in all areas. You need to, you know, surround yourself with people with similar standards or higher, don't you?
You have to
Kind of like it'll be at your place in a couple of weeks when Rik comes over, and there'll be like all these people around who are exactly like that.
Yes, well, that brings us back to well done, Pete. Yeah,
I know, it's all right. You can buy us a drink next time I see you.
Yeah, so just I think we're coming up to an hour with Rik now, and I know you've woke up. You came on with us at 7 a.m., didn't you, your time? And so I just want we'll kind of start to wrap up, and just remind people that that Rik is coming over to England on the 20th and 21st of November. We'll can I put a link, Pete, in the show notes and stuff, just if people want to click for more information and to sign up, to either sign up to the Saturday or the Sunday. One thing I have been contacted by a few people about, Rik, which maybe you can address, is a few people have contacted me and said, "Oh, I'm not an instructor, and I don't really want to be an instructor. I just want to learn the mace for my own training, and this looks very serious, and it looks like, you know, it's only for instructors, and I don't know if it's for me." I mean, what would you say to someone like that, who just is a mace enthusiast and doesn't really have any ambitions to teach others, just wants to deepen their own knowledge?
Well, that's what drew me to the mace. I didn't originally learn it to be an instructor. I was kind of forced into the position because everybody wanted to know about it. But I promise people that many people come to my seminars with no intention of ever teaching anyone, ever showing it to anyone but themselves, and that's fine. I'll meet you there, and we'll stay there. Those who want to take this and learn how to correct flaws in other people's techniques, I will show that too. So it's not just for instructors, but remember, the mace is so unique that even if you just want to take it privately, people will ask questions about it. And so you may need to show people and because there's some things that you have to do and definitely not do when you swing a mace. And you will know them. You will come into at the start wherever you are, and you will leave with a comfortable knowledge of how to use a mace. If you want to take it to an instructor level, that's fine. But if you don't, there's no problem with that. I don't expect everyone to go instructor level, and I also don't expect people to fall in love with the mace to the degree that I have. And I have 27 maces, and I'm always looking for more. I plan to pick up a few when I'm in England. I do. I've contacted some people. I have a couple of maces from England already. They're beautiful, and I don't expect people to feel that way, as passionate about as I am. If you love kettlebells, if you love traditional training, if you don't do any training at all and you just want to learn something that you can pick up and you don't have to devote an hour to it or even a half hour, the mace will meet you where you are and will be a great addition to your life, to your training. It'll be another arrow in your quiver, as they say. It doesn't have to be your only methodology.
Brilliant. So there'll be a link in the show notes to click to, and I'll also put something in the Health Oddity Facebook group as well, if you're on Facebook, because I know I do get comments from people who say, well, I listen to the podcast while I'm out walking and I can never remember where I don't ever see the links and stuff. So I'll put some bits in the Facebook group as well. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you again, Rik. Thanks so much. I mean, we arranged this at fairly short notice to jump on this call, but it's really lovely to speak to you again. Pete, do you have anything you'd like to, any final thoughts?
You know what? I haven't this time. No, honestly, we've been through everything we've been through there, just being like strong forever and getting out of your own way and all of that sort of stuff. I think it's funny because that seems like we've had just a casual conversation, but we've gone over a hell of a lot there, I think.
No, I think that's right. And have you got any final kind of leaving thoughts at all, Rik? Put you on the spot there a bit.
Really easy. Learn to swing a mace. If you don't want to swing a mace, learn to find what you love and do it with all your heart, and you'll do fine.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rik. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you again. I mean, I'll obviously be in contact with you a lot over the next few weeks. And Rik and I would absolutely love to see you in Chelmsford, Essex on the 20th or the 21st of November. We will be going out to dinner as well on, I'm sure we'll be going out to dinner every night, but we'll be going out to dinner on the Saturday night. And any of you who are on the course, either on the Saturday or maybe coming into the area and staying over for the Sunday, we're going to go out for dinner at a very nice little smokehouse in Chelmsford called the Odd Fellows. I'll give him a little plug because he's a member of the gym. So we'll be going out for dinner on the Saturday night. And if you're coming to the workshop, that would be great to spend some time with Rik. And as you can tell, just from talking to him, he's a fantastic guy, knows a hell of a lot about the mace, but also knows a hell of a lot about life and training as well. And we'll have a great weekend. So thank you for listening. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review for the podcast if you have the option to do so. Please do tell your friends about it. And again, thank you so much for giving us our most successful month so far in September with 2,000 downloads. The next goal is to hit 5,000 downloads in a month. And we'd like that within the next 6 months. Yeah, if we can hit 5,000 downloads in the month, that would be great. But thank you all so much.
I can edit that bit out if you want.
No. So thank you. We will see you all soon. We'll see you next week for episode 63. Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Oddity.